So what class do you want to play?
Well, I think I want to be like connected with nature and stuff, so maybe a druid.
Oh, no.
No!
I'm sorry, that's just going to be way too complicated for your first character.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, I mean, where do I begin? To start, there's spell casting. I mean, a druid, they know all of their spells off the start, so you're going to have a lot to learn. And then there's wild shape as well, so we've got to keep track of every single beast that you see, or like you know of. I think actually, no, wait, it is the one, just the ones that
And we've got to make sure
we check if they're the right CR for you to be able to turn into. And I think they can't have a swimming speed and a flying speed until you're a certain level, and then we have to check that. And then you've obviously got to learn how to use all of their stat blocks, right? Like instead of your own, because when you change, you use their stat block. But I think you keep your like mental stuff, and you keep your racial abilities and your class abilities on top of the stuff in the stat block, right? Like I'm not sure how all of it meshes together, but you've got to figure that out too.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you know what? I think maybe I'll play a ranger instead.
No! Hey everyone, welcome to The Grit and Glory, where we learn how to improve the gaming experience. If you like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and of course subscribe. But now, onto the video. D&D can be a very complicated game, especially if you're playing for newbies, and especially if those newbies want to play classes that are very complicated and poorly made, like the Druid. No hate on the Druid, by the way. I love the Druid. My first PC was a Druid, and it was amazing, but it is a poorly made class, and it's really janky, and yeah, it's not great, especially if you're new. Complexity on its own is not necessarily a bad thing, as long as it's done in an intuitive and interesting way, which Druid is not. But there are plenty of other examples of classes that are still complex, whilst being fun and interesting to play in D&D. For example, every other spellcaster.
You don't know how to use that, do you?
And obviously, as people play and more, they get more used to the complexity, and it gets easier and easier for them to understand. And adding complexity to a game is actually a really good thing. It can create depth and make it much more enjoyable, especially if you're playing for a decade plus like myself. But the problem is with D&D, even though it is very simplistic in lots of ways, there is a massively steep learning curve for you to actually be able to enjoy the game if you're playing by the rules. That's what martials are for, man. They're made to be simple, right? So people can play them and learn how to play the game. Duh. That's just what Wizards of the Coast want you to believe, but it's not true. Sure, not everyone wants to deal with spellcasting and spell slots in their first ever session, and they shouldn't have to. But that doesn't mean that martials should have to bear the burden of being beginner friendly, especially since Wizards of the Coast think that beginner friendly is synonymous with weak and boring. Because of this martials are for beginners mentality, Wizards of the Coast set out to make martials as simple as possible. I mean, look at the fighter. They get 3 unique abilities. This is about as simple as you could physically get. But the thing is, what Wizards of the Coast didn't realize is there's a difference between simple and boring, and they've made them boring. Damn! I mean, seriously, look at this. Fighters get literally 3 unique abilities, and that is it. I mean, yeah, sure, there are subclasses, some of which have really cool, unique, fun abilities, and there are tons of magic items that can help give more options and deal more damage. But we all know this doesn't solve the problem. The lopsidedness of the martial spellcaster divide is so intense and so drastic that it's almost seen as a universal truth in D&D.
Who does that?
But it doesn't have to be. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We need to give martials more options in combat. Allow them to make dynamic decisions, just like spellcasters do. What, so a newbie's just supposed to deal with every class being like overcomplicated and impossible and difficult to play? Yeah, that sounds like great game design, man. Gosh, you don't know anything. Well, kind of, but no, not really, because there is a massive difference between making a class more fun, interesting, and dynamic, and making them very difficult to play. I mean, just look at the Battlemaster Fighter, for example. Those added techniques are so simple, but they make the fighter a million times more interesting and fun to play.
Awesome!
I just think stuff like that should be available to every marshal. And yeah, sure, they did add some things kind of like this with weapon masteries and things like that in 5.5 edition, but not enough. Wizards of the Coast were too scared to fully commit, so they made a half-hearted attempt and left it at that, which is typical of them.
This is bullshit.
But you know what the worst part is? Even if I agreed with you and said that marshals needed to be very simple and boring in the lower levels to help newbies learn how to play the game, there is absolutely no excuse for how boring and how weak marshals are all the way up to level 20. I mean, let's just look at this level 20 party, for example. The Lich King is sitting on his throne. He is furious and out for blood, but unaware of your presence for now. You both get 1 turn each before combat begins. I run up and I attack the Lich. That's a 24, a 26, 27, and an 18 to hit. Okay, well, that's 3 hits. Okay, I deal 57 points of damage. All right, you do some amazing damage to his back and he whips his head around to look at you as he writhes in pain, still stands strong. Wizard, your turn. I cast Irresistible Dance on the Lich and make him boogie. Okay, what's the save? There isn't one. He just boogies. What? No, that can't be, right? Okay, it's my Simulacrum's turn now, so he's going to cast Black Tentacle on the Lich. He has disadvantage on the save because he is boogieing. Okay, he rolls. Aha, that's a 20. He succeeds. Oh, that's nice. I cast Silvery Barbs on him. Oh. Okay. Well, all right. Okay, he rolls. That's a 12. Okay, he fails. So that means that he is now restrained. So you're telling me he can't do anything on his turn except for try and break out of the grapple. Amazing. And even if he does, he'll just continue the boogie, which means that he won't be able to move. So on his turn, the tentacles will get another shot to restrain him. Well, this is kind of ridiculous. Fighter, I guess it's your turn again. I guess I attack again. Marshals start simple and they stay simple the whole way through. But it isn't just simple. I mean, simple can be super fun, but saying I attack 4 times every turn just isn't fun. This is where beginner classes come in. They take that burden of being beginner friendly off of the marshals. Yeah! And now that means that the fight, it doesn't have to be mind-numbingly boring anymore. Woohoo! So, what are these beginner classes that I'm actually talking about? Are they a new addition to 2024 that you haven't heard about yet? Well, no, not exactly. Sidekicks. Yes, sidekicks. They are actually amazing to use as beginner-friendly classes. And yeah, I know they're not technically called beginner classes, but that is just because Wizards of the Coast are way too scared to use that label. And sidekicks do work as beginner classes. If you don't believe me, it even says it here in the official rules. And the thing is, I love some of the abilities these sidekicks have, like the specialist's coordinated strike ability, allowing for collaborative combat tactics. And look, there's even a spellcasting option. And look, there's the warrior who has such amazing abilities as well, would you look at that? Even worse than the base fighter. I'm sorry guys, I thought that the beginner classes were supposed to destroy the board and not create more of it.
You were the chosen one!
I guess you guys will just have to work redesigning the warrior beginner class yourself. And then you're gonna have to redesign all of the main martial classes to make them more fun as well. And gosh, that'll probably take you a while. Oh wait, Grit and Glory's already done it. Not only have we fixed martials, which you can watch a video about here. But we've also made really intuitive and interesting beginner classes with 7 major options at the moment, all having at least 3 subclasses. There is a ton of different choices for you to make. And it strikes the perfect balance between interesting and simple, without being so overwhelming and complex as to defeat the purpose of a beginner class.
Beautiful.
But as I've been saying this whole video, there's a massive difference between simple and boring. And we've set out to keep them simple, but also make these classes fun and flavorful. The way we've done that is instead of upfront loading you with 100 abilities, we ensure that you get 1 ability every single level. This means not only do you have time to learn your abilities and get used to how they behave, but you never end up with a dud level where all you get is extra attack. Nobody wants this. Okay, guys? You level up. Okay, amazing. Wow. Oh, cool. What ability did you get? Oh, I got a whole bunch of new spell options. You know what? I got this really cool new ability. Oh, I didn't get anything. Okay.
Ha! Gay!
For now, I'm not going to go into excruciating detail about how every single beginner class works, which if you want those rules, you can check out the website in the description. And I promise I will make full in-depth deep dive videos on every single beginner class once the game is released. Once they're made, I'll link them here. But I will give you a little taster about what they're like. Let's start with one of my personal favorites, the Vanguard subclass. If you're new to TTRPGs and want to play a frontline warrior, sure, you could play the fighter from D&D, but we all know how that's going to go. You're going to be swinging your sword once a turn, and that's basically your whole identity.
You are one pathetic loser.
But in Grit and Glory, a Vanguard isn't just a beginner-friendly marshal, it's a battlefield commander. You have tactical choices. You can shield allies, mark enemies, reposition yourself and others, even create openings for your friends to land devastating attacks.
Oh my goodness! That's the most badass thing I've ever heard.
And it's still super simple and easy to just pick up and play. There's no spell casting, no massive ability list getting in the way. But even without all of that, a player can still have tactical decisions in combat that can have a massive impact on the flow of the game. But that's just one of the subclasses available. We also have subclasses like the Runeblade, a warrior who's delving into the mystic side of the world without being thrown into the deep end of spellcasting. Or there's the Warden, a durable protector who actually has defensive abilities rather than just being a massive damage sponge.
What a loser! What a loser!
But it's not just about combat. These classes need to have abilities that teach you how to play the game, how to roleplay, how to interact with the world beyond just rolling dice. That's why every single one of these classes and subclasses have unique abilities that are mechanical but also flavorful and fill out that role of fantasy. And they grow and evolve with you over time, keeping the classes engaging throughout all the levels, but also increasing the complexity as you get more familiar with the system.
Yeah, that's right.
These classes, they grow and evolve with you over time, layering on more complexity at a natural, manageable pace. They give you a strong foundation to learn the system and allow you to grow and evolve from there, just like you do with any skill you learn. Because this is what good games design does. It guides new players without boxing them in. It gives you meaningful choices without overwhelming you with a million different options. And most importantly, it makes the rewards, the level ups you work really hard for, actually exciting. And you know the best part? These rules work for sidekicks too. And unlike Wizards of the Coast, we're not afraid to say it. I recognize that the sidekicks rules for Wizards of the Coast was an amazing idea. And at Grit and Glory, we didn't want to take that tool away from GM. So what we've done is we've added in rules to adapt these beginner classes for sidekick. It's super easy, super fun. I've used it myself, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier to run the game when your party's adopted that 12th goblin.
Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the goblin and took the spider out.
So if you're tired of marshals feeling like an afterthought, if you want to play a game that treats new players with respect and guides them without making them feel overwhelmed or bored, or if you just want to play a game that has your character feel fun and exciting at every single level, then it's time to give Grit and Glory, a chai. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, check out the website in the description below where you'll find details about the Kickstarter that's going live in September, so make sure to back it. And in the meantime, you can check out my Patreon for more exclusive content, or for YouTube content, you can look here.